Hello, coming to you with another video for fun, non-stitching related. Today I am going to talk about, and we'll do a little bit of craft with me kind of thing, is diamond painting. I know a lot of you have probably gotten into it, especially with this quarantine. We've kind of had to find things to do around the house that, something to keep us busy. And it may be something we already do, and maybe something we're trying new, just because we need more things to do, more variety, because we just have been doing the same thing the whole time. So I have jumped on the bandwagon and done some diamond painting. I have 4 that I have finished, and I've just gotten another one that we will start together, and I will do a little. It does take a while, in case you're wondering. It does take a while to do it. Obviously, it's going to vary from person to person as to how fast they go and their technique. I'm not worried about how fast I'm going. This is just something for me to sit and do every once in a while. Like if I'm cooking and I need to wait for it to bake or something, then I can just sit down and work on this a little bit. There are times where I purposely sit down for maybe an hour and work on it. But yeah, it varies from time to time as to when I'm going to sit and work on it. All right, so with that, I'm going to show you the ones I've done. I'm going to explain a little bit about choosing some stuff, and then we're going to get in, and I'm going to, we'll get into eventually working on some of it. But I also wanted to give you some tips that I have learned, and I will try to remember to put in the description what video I watched to get some of these tips. So we'll get to that as well. Okay, so here are the ones that I have worked on so far. I've got a couple of small ones, got these 2 small ones. I've got a bigger one here, obviously bigger one here. As you can see, depending on how you stand, where you stand is how well you're going to see the image. And of course, the light coming in, which direction it's coming in, is either going to potentially enable you to see the picture better or see the glitter, the shining, the diamond aspect of it on there. Okay, so I'm kind of walking around. You can see, like for this one now, it's a little shadowed, so I can see the picture a little bit better. If I get right on top of it, might be kind of both. I find that when I am looking at it in person, that standing back and looking at it gives me a little bit better view, kind of like this. I don't necessarily see the aspect of it. I mean, if you're walking around, then yeah, you see kind of the glitter sparkleness of it, but sometimes it is hard to see the image, at least so far, the ones that I've done. Now, these small ones, as you can see, let me see if it shows you here. I don't see it on this one, but on this one, it shows you what they say the size, and these are in centimeters. So, this one does too, right here. Okay. I want you to notice this, because this is how you're going to decide which one to get. It's in centimeters usually. Sometimes they have a button you can push for the equation in inches, but they may not. Now, I'm going to show you with a ruler. This one says 20 by 25. So it's just shy of 20 in that measurement. Just shy 15 there. So in this particular one, what they're measuring is from the edge of the canvas to the edge of the canvas. It's not the image itself. This is really deceiving, because in this one, let's see what we've got here. This one's going to do the same thing. If you notice, it's showing just slightly under 20, and it says it's a 25 by 25. So if I squish it out here to the edges, it's still just a hair shorter than 25, but it's, Still close enough. So these smaller ones, and I apologize, I don't know what company I got these from, so I'm not sure. This bigger one has a measurement over here of 30 by 50. So I'm going to stick my ruler over here, and it's a 30 centimeter ruler on the centimeter side, and it goes right to the edge. It's pretty much true to measurement for the picture. I'm not going to measure lengthwise because my ruler's not going to be big enough. But if the 30 centimeters is correct, I'm guessing the 50 centimeters is correct for the diamond part, not from canvas edge to canvas edge. This one does not have a measurement on it that oh yes it does. Why do I always say that? I say no it doesn't, and then all of a sudden I find it. It says it is a 40 by 50. So if I'm just going to kind of, let me turn my ruler around, center this a little bit. That's 30. So 5 centimeters is about this much. So I'm guessing in this case, they're measuring from edge to edge on the canvas as well, instead of the actual picture. So unfortunately, I don't think they ever tell you that when you're ordering. It's not going to say 40 by 50 for the image or 40 by 50 for the canvas. So you're going to have to watch for that. So here is what we will be working on today, getting started with it. It is beautiful, so gorgeous. I do want to show you a couple of things that you might notice. Our normal, what I would call the diamonds, have a little bit of, they're reflecting the light, so you get in that look. In this particular kit, we're going to have even more than that. So here is a normal diamond, okay? So you can see it's got a little bit of shimmer to it. Here are some of them that I'm going to have. They actually have like a glitter on them. So some of them are like this. Not a lot, but there are a few that are like this. The other thing that's going to be different with this is you can notice these big areas here are going to have these that we're putting on. So that's a little bit different than the normal standard diamond kit. Something you can tell it's a big one. I think it's even bigger than the other ones that I showed you. It is 40 by 62. So the biggest one I have over there, I believe, is the 40 by 50. So this one's a little bit longer. Okay. As I was mentioning, you want to be careful about seeing if they mention anywhere about the measurement of being the picture, the image, or if it's from canvas edge to canvas edge. Because this is kind of like a canvas material. That's why I say canvas. You want to definitely get the bigger, the better. It doesn't have to be huge. I mean, this is kind of a big one. The ones that I had mentioned over there, I think the smallest one was 20 by 25. You want it to be at least 30. The house one was the true measurement, and that was a 30. 30 by 50. You definitely want 30 to be the smallest number you would go down, because, and there is a reason, those small ones, I have a hard time seeing the image of them unless I'm standing just right. So the bigger the image, the more detail it's going to have, and the prettier it's going to look, because it can show you more of those minute details, whereas you can't do that with the small ones. Okay. Just so you know, what you see right here is not what the final product's going to look like. It will, in the sense that it's going to be the peacock and the flowers and everything, but the colors may be slightly different. And I say that because if you look in this one, that really bright green, and I know it's supposed to be like the reflection of the moon or something, it did not show that bright on the canvas before I did this. The other one example is the windows, the light in the windows. That's pretty bright. That's like the really bright orange, and it didn't seem to be that bright when, I was working on it. So just be aware that you may not end up with something that's going to look, you think this is so beautiful. It may turn out even prettier than this. But just want to warn you that sometimes it doesn't exactly come out to the same coloring, the same look that you're looking at it before you put the diamonds on. Alrighty, with that, we will set up to do a little bit of tips, and I'm going to rearrange the camera a little bit, as well as maybe doing a little bit of. So let's get into some tips real quick before we get started. I unrolled this last night, and I had some stuff sitting on the ends to help it get flat. If you get yours and you unroll it and you want to work on it right away, I learned this from watching somebody else who had it was basically a video of just tips for things when you're first starting. Mine actually, this is the first time I've had mine come in a box, I believe. I can't tell what company it is. It doesn't say. It's from China. That's all I know. Usually they just come all rolled up with the beads tucked inside the roll and in a piece of plastic. I don't know, like a bag. So it's varied how you're going to get yours. To get it so that it's flat, and I don't know how much it'll do this since I've had it laid out, but I'm going to show you what to do anyway. In a lot of the cases, you get this plastic film on the top. In some cases, like when I did the house, it was much more of a paper covering, and you couldn't see through it, so it would cover the whole image. That's not quite as fun, but the plastic is kind of a pain to work with sometimes too. So to make it flat, you're going to start at a corner, and you're going to pull it down, and then you're just going to let it go right back to where it was. Then you're going to take the next corner, pull it down, not let it do that. That would not be good. I'm glad this happened so you can see that it might happen, because I haven't done this before. Pretty sticky there. Okay, so you let it roll back. Then you're going to do that down at these other ends down here. Same thing. You just take it out, roll it back, take it out, and let it roll back down. Just fold back down. Now, in this example, it didn't show like it really flattened it a little bit. Maybe right here it is, at the very edges, the center, because I didn't pull it quite as far. But it does seem it doesn't have quite as much bumps. When she showed her example, it really made a difference. It laid flat. It was very nice. So give that a try. Hopefully it won't stick like this did. Just be real careful when you're laying it back down that it's going down nice and flat instead of catching and folding under. So the next tip, you don't want to, obviously I put the plastic back on it. You don't want to pull the whole thing off and be done with it. Otherwise you're going to be sticking to this all the time, and then your diamonds won't stick to it. So what you're going to do is pull back, if you want to pull back a corner and just work in the corner, or if you want to pull it back so it's a horizontal line and you work across here, you can do that too. If you want to work right in the middle, you can. It's going to be very hard to get to though. So usually you're going to want to start on the edge. It's recommended to start at the top because this is so long that I have to bend over to get to this. And I'm not going to stand up and bend over the whole time. So usually what you're going to do is have this fold down over the edge of the table so that you can reach this while you're sitting. So we'll do that. I'm going to slide this down. We're going to move you a little bit, so hopefully you don't get all sick. Okay, so now it's hanging over. If I did this and I had started at the bottom to work up, the weight would want to pull this thing down even more, so you're going to have to fight it from falling off the edge. Whereas right now I can let go and it's all right. So starting at the top it's better to start at the top. Your diamonds, loads and loads of diamonds that you get. Sometimes they come together because they are the same number. Sometimes they come in a strip and there's 4 different, like maybe 4 of these bags, but they're all different numbers. It varies. In this case, they separated all the numbers. This is a pretty nice one. So it just kind of varies how you're going to get these little bags. This is your chart down the side. So you're going to have, again, I've said it multiple times, it's going to vary how they do it. And so you notice that there's 2 sets of numbers. There's a 2 and then there's a 159. And in here, you've got all these numbers and letters. Okay, so sometimes it turns into a letter. In this case, what's down the center is what's on the picture, and the corresponding diamond is, you look at this side. In some cases, I have had them where they print this number, this gigantic number, and sometimes it's a 4-digit number on the bag. Okay, so you're just going to have to see which way they have done this. Okay, so that might be something you're going to have to figure out. Something else that I have done is it's going to come with this little tray, which we will get to in a minute. Probably this comes with a little piece of this waxy, sticky, waxy stuff. And in some cases, you're going to get some tweezers. Okay, in this kit, these are the kind of tweezers I got. In another kit, I got some with the angled head. I prefer the angled head because you can do it like this instead of having your hand like this to place it, or just, it's weird. This is an end on some of these tools. I haven't used it, so I'm not entirely sure how to use it, because even if I knew, because I know it's meant to put multiple diamonds in there, I'm not going to, and I don't care to learn. So if you're going to use this, it's got a plastic coating on both sides. So you have to peel the plastic coating off, and then you take this and you gouge out a piece. Okay, let's see if we can do this real quick. Okay, so I've taken the shiny protective part off, and hang on a minute. You're just gouging a piece out of it, and it's now in the tip. And what that does is that you can now pick up your diamonds and place them. Okay, eventually this is going to stop being sticky. And when that happens, then you have to use your little tweezers. And if you haven't gotten any tweezers in your kit, you'll have to use something else, a toothpick or other tweezers you might have in the house, to dig it out and then resupply with some new tackiness. Okay, so that is something that you have to be aware of, and that's how that works. I know not everybody has done this, and so they know how that works. I prefer to use tweezers all the time. I've never used the sticky, tacky wax stuff. So it's a personal preference as to what you like. My daughter has done this. I don't think she even tried using the tweezers. She just went right to using the wax. Okay. Or the gel or whatever that stuff is. So it's a personal preference. You work, kind of maybe try both and see if you prefer one or the other. There's also a difference in the size of the diamonds. In this kit, they are round. In 3 of the other kits that I've had round ones. The house was a square. So they're little squares. When you're working with tweezers, the squares are easier to work with. They also consider them, when you're ordering, more of a premium look, because it's filling in the whole area instead of just having a circle with other parts. So if you look right here, let me see if I can find it. I'm having to do everything backwards. Right here, you can see that color is actually round. So, and you're going to have a round bead all the way around it. So not that it's super noticeable when you're done with the finished product, but it's not edge to edge with the next one. You're pretty close to edge with circles, but you're still in those corners. It's not going to be right against the next one. So it's just something else to be aware of. In this kit, it came with a whole bunch of these little baggies, the zip baggies, because as you notice, these are just sealed all the way around, all sides. So once you cut these open, you're going to have to find a way to keep these from being lost. So either that's taping the opening every single time you have to get into this color, or putting it into something like this. I have a few of these types of containers that had needles in them. So I use some of these for that. This I think is the first time I got a kit with this. My daughter got a kit and she also got baggies, but I don't think any of my other kits came with them. So that's going to be another variation as well. Lots of information I'm giving y'all. Sorry about that, but this lots of different things. Okay, so now I'm going to set up so you can see some of it being worked on. Okay, so hopefully this will be a good view that you can see it close enough. I'm going to go ahead and start up over here. Something hopefully you can see well enough. I'm going to start with these arrows, and as I scroll down over here, the arrow is number 28, so I found 28, and I'm going to go ahead and put it in one of these for now. So I'm just going to cut this open and carefully dump them all in here. And I will put, like, maybe cut this out and tape that to the top so I know where to find 28 again. All right, we need our little tray because we've got to put a few in here, and you shake it around. And that will separate them as well as make them so their tops are facing up. Some are still facing face down, but as you go, you just keep shaking them a little bit so that they will get into the position you need them. Once again, we're just going to pull away part of what we need. This, where you put this, it's just going to be where it's most comfortable. If it's, you know, up here and you're pulling down, you can do that. If it's from here and here, you can. I tend to turn mine sideways because as I grab, I want to grab in those channels. So I don't know how well you can see there are channels in there. And if I am holding it this way, I'm going across those channels and I can't get down in there as deep to grab a hold of those. And I'll warn you, using tweezers on round ones, it's not, the percentage is low, but it does happen quite a bit where I go to grab one and bing, off it goes and it flies somewhere. They give you so many of these that you have lots left over. So if you're losing some, it's not a big deal. Of course, you don't want your animals or kids to pick them up and swallow them, but you know. So I'm going to pick one up, find my little circle and place it. Find there. So it goes fairly quickly. I try and center it as much as I can on those symbols because since these are circles, they, you know, they're not flat right next to each other like a square would be. So I don't want them too far off center. I want them to line up. And as you're going to see, you're going to start developing the rows. So I had to mess with that a little bit. It was sitting on top of the other one. And sometimes I kind of tweak it around just to get it centered a little bit better so that they are fairly lined up as much as I am able to do since I'm not a robot. All right, so that one, mess around with it a little bit. There's that. There's that. All right, and we're just going to do this. Depending on how your brain works, you may choose to do big patches of the same color, slightly different than just going across the row. I have done both ways. It doesn't bother me to do it one way or another. It's not like, oh, my brain doesn't work that way. I'm not going to be able to comprehend, and it's not going to make my brain just go into overload. So I'll finish this row and I will show you what I am talking about. So this has a little bit of some patchy area. This area over here is obviously going to get into a much bigger area of the same color. So I could show you that real quick. I'll set this aside. Put this over here. So get my other color is 29. We're going to open this up. I'm going to get one of these boxes again because they hold a lot. Kind of nice. And it's a little easier to get in. I wish I had enough of these boxes to use for all of them because it's easy to get the diamonds into them out of the bag, but I don't have enough. So it is what it is. I've got a little tray, dump some of these in here. Okay. So I'm going to pull this back a little bit along the top so we can reach that. Another good reason not to pull back too far is that your hand is constantly going up here and you might end up, laying your hand on the sticky part. Okay, so shake a little. And what you could do on these big sections, now another tip I forgot to get to before we get to that, and I'll need to do that here, is the stickiness goes above the symbols on the sides. And in some of my other ones, I didn't prep this area and I left it that way for the whole time. And now there's kitty hairs in it. So another thing you might want to do is take either some washi tape, any old washi tape, masking tape, something, and lay it across here. So I'll do a little strip. I'm just going to do a little part of it. Wow, this stuff is really sticky compared to some of my other ones. So that now will keep the hair off of that or whatever other things floating in the air. And I would do that all the way around. It's not just that little spot. And then keep it clean. So make sure you remember to do that. All right, so here's the other tip I had. So place one there, and now I'm going to skip and do every other one. So we'll go through a couple of these. And I can already tell like this one's not quite centered. Just kind of push it over a little bit. This stuff is pretty sticky. So you just kind of have to mess with it a little bit. Okay, so I'm not going to go all the way across because there's just too much. So every other one. Now in the next row, go in between. With the tweezers, this is really nice because I don't have a diamond right here that's blocking how I'm being able to lay this. Because sometimes it just gets a little harder to lay them really quick and easy when they're like that. Alrighty. Oh, that one had grabbed on, so I'll just pick that up and take it out. I'm going to do one more row and then I will show you coming in and filling in. Just do a few of these. Okay, so I have a grid pattern and I could do that all the way down, all the way across. So now we're just going to fill in those spots. So I'm going to start with the second row first. Basically, you're just kind of dropping them in there and then you just kind of play around with this. Now, if you're using this tool, you're going to end up possibly placing them a little bit more, but with the tweezers, all you have to do is really just kind of drop them in there and then just make sure they're flat. You may have to adjust, as I have mentioned, some of these other diamonds to make sure they're all lining up. There we go. This top row is not so tough either. It's just you're not really dropping it in as much because you don't have something along this top here kind of keeping it from just falling wherever it would needs to be placed a little bit better than just letting it drop down in there. Whoop, as I mentioned, bing. So I just grab another one. It's right here in front of me. I can be able to pick it up and put it in the tray again if I wanted to. But not all the time. Sometimes I don't know where they wind up. So as you can see, it fills that in, and then you can just continue to work with this, or you move to another color. So there's that tip. Now, one of the other things that I do, and I do this after every single time that I work on this. If you want to wait until you have a big section done, or when you finish the whole thing, that's completely up to you. But you're going to put that back up when you're done to protect the rest of the sticky parts so it doesn't get stuff all over it. And then I go back and push these all down. If I have a big section, I might use the heel of my hand pushing down a little bit more, have a little bit more force or bigger area to cover with the heel. That just keeps it secures them a little bit better, so they won't, hopefully pop off or anything like that. I haven't had any of mine pop off, but I haven't really done a whole lot with mine. Obviously, they're sitting on the table right now, so I'm not sure if I'm going to do anything with those. It's more just those were for fun. This is a really pretty one. If it turns out real nice, I might frame it. We'll see. One of the other things I was going to give you a tip on, and both of these, the things I talked about with putting the washi around, how to get this to fold out flat, is from a YouTuber called Studio Sam. So this woman goes through, she's got a top 10 for beginners, and several of those I've shared with you. I'm not using all of her tips, so they didn't always apply to me. The next thing that you can watch for her, if you're wanting to keep these and you're going to do something with them and you're worried about these popping off for some reason, is that she has another video that is sealing your diamond painting. And basically she's putting glue and working it all down through all the little cracks and stuff, and helping it stay secure so that if you're going to frame it or something's not going to come off. So if you wanted to give that a look, she's got like 8 different things that she tests to see which one is going to look the best. They probably all work just as well as keeping them down, but which one looks the best when you're putting it on your work of art, because it takes a long time to do this. I mean, we've only done this for 5 minutes or so, and this is all I've gotten done. So it's kind of like cross stitch, where it's a slow process and it does take a while to get through it. I want to give you a little bonus peek at the finished product from the time I filmed the stuff before this until now. It's been long enough. I've been able to finish it. It's gorgeous. It's my favorite one that I have done by far. So I'm going to zoom in a little closer. A lot more subtle look to it, which I really, really like. Just a softer, nicer look for the flowers. And then, as I mentioned, let's see if we can see a little better. It's not showing up on the camera as well. There are quite a few within the flower. You can kind of see it in the flower in the white part. Oops, let me get down here. The white part, you can see some that are glittering a little bit more. If I shade it, those actually have glitter on them. So some of the white does. There is some up in here. You can kind of see that. Some of this blue stuff is sparkling a little bit more. Yeah, when I shade it, it shows up a lot better. Those actually have the sparkle glittery stuff on them. It's not just the plain diamonds. So that makes it a little bit more fun. And of course, I've got these little big ones here that fit in there. They don't fit perfectly because they leave kind of a rectangle space for them, as you probably remember from the other part of the video. And then in some cases they'll have like some different beads around it, around part of it or most of it.
Some of these I actually squeezed in more beads than what they said because the goldish color was kind of the main color that matched up with what was behind this where you placed it. And so if I thought I could squeeze in a little bit more than I did to fill up some of that space. So like in here, you can see the corner of it, but it's not big enough to squeeze a bead into. It's just, there's too tight. That one, yeah, it would be tough. I might be able to squeeze one more bead in there. This one definitely I would not be able to. It's just too tight. So yeah, some of it's going to show through, but you know, most people aren't going to really sit there and notice it that much. But yeah, turned out pretty awesome.
So I hope you enjoyed all of that. Lots of tips and helps with beginners as well as when you finish it. Lots of ideas of sizing, the shape of your diamonds. There was a lot of information in there, and I hope you got something out of it and that you enjoyed kind of seeing me work on that just a little bit, because I wanted just to show you how it works and how you do it. So anyway, with that, I hope we had fun together, and we'll see you in the next video.